The brutal and honest truth is that no one is coming to save you. Sometimes people might lend a helping hand, but that's only sometimes. Ultimately, it's always down to you. It's a sad reality where most people are in it for themselves. Understandably so. Life can be pretty brutal at times. That's why, no matter what, you have to be ready to drag yourself out. Whenever you're feeling low, depleted, or just tired, it will always be down to you to lift yourself back up and do everything that you want to do. Very often, you're going to have to do things alone. After all, we do spend the large majority of our time on ourselves, whether that's physically or mentally. It's just us. Us, our thoughts, our feelings, our goals. Whatever it may be, it's us and those things inside our head. And because it is just us, we just have to deal with it. Sometimes assistance, support, help, advice from other people will be there. It will, but that's only sometimes. It's not always available. And regardless of what other people tell us or how they assist us, ultimately, we have to make that decision. We have to make a decision based on something. If we feel a certain way, if we want to do something, if we want to tell someone something, it's us that has to make that decision, not other people. I do feel like oftentimes people, myself included in the past, almost like need or want validation from others based on what they are going to do. But ultimately, it's all about how you feel, because it's your decision. What you do is going to affect you. I suppose that does depend on context, but the large majority of the time, if I turn around, I want to do something, I want to change something, I want to go somewhere, that's only going to affect me. It's not going to affect anybody else. So why would I need someone else's input or opinion on that? If it makes me happy and it doesn't cause any harm or misfortune to anybody else around you, then just do it. Just go for it. Because why not? On the flip side, when we're talking about how we feel, sometimes it is only us that can lift ourselves up from the ground. We can't turn to anybody. We can't tell anybody. We can't pour it out. Sometimes, even if we have people that we can tell these things to, we still choose not to. We can't sit there, resenting them or wondering why they can't read our mind because we chose not to say anything. Whether we have or haven't got anybody that we can discuss our worries or troubles with, it will be you that'll have to pick yourself up from the ground. Because just like in my previous point, just how they can advise you and help you, they can do exactly the same right here. But it doesn't matter what anybody says until you do what you want to do. So if you don't want to pick yourself up, they won't pick you up for you. As much as they could physically throw you up on your feet, give you all the emotional and physical and financial support they can, it is still down to you. Because if you don't want to, because help only works if you want to accept it. And there's nothing wrong with saying no to help. Sometimes we do it to protect ourselves. Sometimes we do it because of our own selfish reasons. Sometimes it's just our ego. But if we choose not to accept help, we can't sit there resenting other people for not helping us when we said no to it initially. So regardless of what it is, whether it's physical, spiritual, financial, it is down to you to make that decision. Are you going to do it alone, or are you going to accept the help from other people? Sometimes you don't have that choice, and you have to do it alone regardless. But are you going to do it? In the previous section, we spoke about doing things alone. But sometimes help will be there. But what happens if there isn't any? And there genuinely just is no help, and you have to become your own rock. What do you do? Well, I believe it's all about finding safety nets and things that bring you the absolute ultimate comfort in your life. Because I believe all of us have something, at least even if it's small, that bring us peace or happiness or make us feel better. Regardless of what it is, we all have that one thing we can turn to when we're just not feeling great, when we're just having a bad day, when we just want to forget about something, trying to take our mind off things. And obviously we need to find them things to be our own rock. And by doing so, like I mentioned, it's finding that safety net, finding that thing when you can listen, consume, enjoy, whatever it is that brings you that joy, that brings you that happiness. We need to utilize them when we can. But I believe there's a fine line of utilizing it when you genuinely really need it rather than when you just want it. Because there's a very big difference of having a genuine bad day and just feeling a little bit off on a specific day. Because you might just wake up, had a great night's sleep,
You don't need your safety net on that day. You just need to get through the day, have a good night's sleep, and go again tomorrow. And I guarantee you won't have any need for it. Well, let's say something genuine does happen, and on the way to work, somebody bumps into you, and now you've got a little fine because you need to repair your car. That's a bit of a bad day. And obviously you're going to have to pay for something that you wasn't planning on, and nobody ever likes to pay or sort things that they weren't planning on paying for or sorting, right? So I believe on that day, a safety net would be quite good. You might need it. You might want to just shove off the other tasks you had on mind and just focus on the thing that will make you feel better. Because whenever we overuse and overindulge in these safety nets, it kind of makes them redundant because they are no longer a thing we go to. We know it's no longer a thing we go and seek. It's just something that's always there. And when something's always there, it loses its meaning in that sense. But something that you have to go out your own way to do or enjoy or whatever, that has some meaning to it, has a bit more depth. Because just going home and flicking on Netflix is easy, right? That might be your safety net. That's fair enough. But for some other people, their safety net might be something completely different. Something where they have to go out their own way. Something where they have to travel. Something that they have to make. And I feel like those safety nets and those things that you can turn to have a bit more depth, and I feel like they leave more of an impact on you because they're not as readily available. My biggest safety net is physical activity. Whether that's going to the gym, going for a run, although I've been slacking on that a little bit lately. That is what I need. That is what helps me the most whenever I need help. I can do those things on my own, almost whenever I can. Obviously, there are certain things in life that get in the way, such as responsibilities and work. But when you plan it outside of those hours, I can go and do that. And whenever I do, and I finish, it makes me feel 1,000 times better than I felt before. It clears my head, helps me think straight, makes me feel good. And I feel like everybody needs a safety net that gives them that comfort, that gives them that answer whenever they're feeling low. After all, you're helping yourself. No one else is helping you. So the way I see it, I don't care what that is, as long as it gets me results. And those results are just simply, I want to feel better. Whenever you're used to doing everything alone, accepting help and accepting assistance from others is going to be very difficult, because after all, you've always done it yourself. So you're just used to just getting on with it and not having anyone there by your side. But I want you to remember that help is scarce, it's not common, and there aren't many people who are willing to actually give you a helping hand and want nothing in return. So whenever that kind of help comes, just accept it. It'll be tough, and you won't want to. Trust me, I never wanted to either. But when it does come, and it will, you hold on to it and accept it, because you actually have no idea when or if ever you'll come across something like that again. Every single time something happens, something's worrying you, you've got a lot on your mind, your immediate kind of like path and reaction would be just to think about it, try and sort it yourself, just do it on your own. But if there is someone out there that is willing to take some of that burden off you, don't say no to that. I still want you to be skeptical, because not everybody that helps you does so purely out of the good of their own heart. Some people will want something in return. Some people will help you because then they'll love to remind you that you owe them. So still be skeptical, still question it, don't just blindly accept it. But I believe there are a lot of signs that show when something is real or not. And the biggest one that I want to tell you right now is consistency. If they're consistent with you, that means they're real. That means they genuinely care. If they only come and go and just appear out of nowhere ever so often, stay away from them. You don't need their help. You definitely don't want it either, because that help will be used against you. Accepting help as a whole is a bit of a skill to learn, because not everybody can sit there, put their ego to the side, put their values to the side, just listen and just see what other people have to think, have to say, how they would do something, how they would go around a situation. But it's something we must develop and work on, even if we do a lot of things alone, or everything, because an off chance one day we won't have to anymore. It's definitely something I've been trying to get better at. It's something I've been practicing. If I'm worrying about something, or I've got a lot on my mind, or I generally just want a second opinion from somebody, I do ask people that are close to me, because it's always good to hear other people's perspectives. Because even if it's something simple, them telling you their view on it might be something you've never thought of for yourself. And this could be down to just your values, the way you view things, your understanding of the situation, whatever it may be. But having someone else's input is useful. So remember that real help isn't frequent. doesn't come by often. But when it does, we need to stop turning our back to it. We just need to accept it. We might not want to, but sometimes it's what we need. Thank you very much for tuning in to this week's video. I hope you enjoyed it and learned something new. And if you want to chat about anything, please do a comment. I'll be more than happy to get back to you. Last week, we spoke about control and some of the ways you can stop worrying so much. So I hope I see you there. I'm going to leave that on the screen right here. And as always, thank you. Bye-bye. See you next week.